What's good, peeps? It's your main man, Joe Fleetwood, the hustler, and welcome to the Joe Fleetwood podcast. Thank you for checking out the show. And if it's your first time, make sure you go to www.joefleetwood.net where you can find all my social media links where you can follow. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, as that would greatly help me. Now, if you're on my website, you will see a link for W Jitter Free Energy Drink, where you can get 10% off if you use promo code Joe Fleetwood, and that is if you like energy drinks that don't give you the shakes. Make sure you check out the merchandise store, as we got hats and other stuff inside there as well. Now, let's get into today's show. A few weeks ago, I did a podcast highlighting Wesley Snipes' career and then also his talents as a martial artist inside of his acting, but also giving him praise and recognition as being the man who saved Marvel with the Blade 3 trilogy. Now, of course, all of this came on the heels of the movie Deadpool and Wolverine. Hence, he had a cameo appearance in it that everybody was talking about, and he was returning back to the silver screen as Blade. Now, one of the things I didn't expect to happen was there to be a huge buzz around the character that Channing Tatum played, which is Remy LeBeau, none other than the Gambit. Now, since the movie has premiered, there's been a lot of talk about Channing Tatum and his role as the Gambit. Now, the first time that I saw the Gambit in a Marvel movie, of course, was X-Men Origin Wolverine, and it was played by Taylor Kitsch. Now, in my opinion, I'm not a comic book guru, but I do remember my childhood and the character, the Gambit, who was perceived as, as a smooth talking ladies' man, always smoking cigarettes, so to speak. And I thought Taylor did a good job, but I didn't think that he did. I don't think he did as well as Channing Tatum did in the latest Deadpool. But I did think he did an okay job at the character Gambit. Needless to say, I was the only one that felt like that. I felt like he did do the character justice, but it just didn't have that same flair that Channing Tatum had in Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, what I didn't know and what forced me to actually do this was I'm a huge fan of movies in general and great acting. And I had no idea that there was actually in the works a Gambit movie that was supposed to be put out by Marvel. Had no idea. But later on, of course, after all the buzz surrounding Channing Tatum, it actually came to light, because in one article, Channing Tatum could be seen saying, "Hey, I hope this is enough to kind of reignite the Gambit movie that was supposed to come out back in 2016. Let's get into what happened to the Gambit movie and why it actually ended up getting canceled. Now, after I did my research, come to find out there was a huge amount of chaos surrounding the Gambit movie itself. So in the beginning, Channing Tatum, of course, was supposed to play Gambit in the X-Men origin story Wolverine, before Taylor Kitsch got the role due to Channing Tatum having a conflict with his schedule, because at that time he was going to be playing in G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra. Now, as I stated, Taylor's role wasn't well received. I felt like he did an okay job, but a lot of people felt the same way that I did, and they didn't think he played well enough at the character to be given his own movie. Now, in 2013, Tatum expressed that he would love to take on the role, with all due respect to Kitsch and his performance, but with Channing Tatum having roots in New Orleans, which is where his dad is from. He grew up in Mississippi, but he spent a lot of time in New Orleans. He felt like he'd be the perfect fit for the film, and being that he spent so much time in New Orleans and the same areas in which the intent for the movie was going to be shot. Lauren Donner, X-Men producer, announced that the Gambit film is moving forward and Tatum is going to be a part of it. And this was in 2014. 4 months later, Tatum signs the deal and begins to look for writers, and went with Josh Zitmer, who is going to be the writer on this movie. Now it's time to find a producer. Now, in 2015, Channing Tatum would go on to approach several producers, and they all turned him down. After being turned down by 5 or more producers, Rupert Wyatt signed the deal to direct the film. Now, during this time frame, Tatum was also in the middle of renegotiating his contract in 2015 because Fox wanted him to be the anchor character for the impending retirement of Hugh Jackman in Wolverine. It was reported that he was close to dropping out of the film at this time. Now that we have the main character casted for Gambit as Jason Tatum, they began looking for casting roles for Belladonna Bordeaux. But the drama begins when Wyatt drops out of the film due to scheduling conflicts. But it's also to believe that he was kind of skittish about the film because of so many rewrites. Later on, Wyatt would go on to say that budget restrictions became a problem following the failure of Fantastic Four in 2015. Needless to say, the original dates of October 7, 2016 had changed, and Tatum and Reed Caroline, who Tatum was set to produce the film with, began looking for new directors. Now, one of the directors that they approached was one of my favorite, and I would have loved to see him do the movie, was F. Gary Gray, but he also declined to do the movie as well. Then the movie actually landed with Doug Littman, who was later on decided to direct another film called The Wall in 2017. So with that scheduling conflict, he also decided to leave the movie alone. Now, later on, Lyman would go on to say it was all about the script. He wasn't feeling the script, and it just didn't speak to him. So after all of this, the movie landed with Gore Verbinski, who would later on direct the film in 2017, but left it in 2018, stating that there was a scheduling conflict and creative differences, stalling the movie yet once again. Then in 2018, there was a plan to replace Verbinski in 2019, but in 2019, all movies were put on hold due to the Disney's acquisition of Fox and ultimately led to Gambit being canceled. Now, if you haven't seen any clips of Channing Tatum playing the Gambit inside Deadpool and Wolverine, here's a clip for you.
The name's Remy Labo, du Diable Blanc, but you can call me the Gambit. Good day, we never had a Wolverine up in here. But I can tell you now, it's just a common courtesy to ask before you drink up all of my liquor.
It's a good thing I don't give a fuck.
Cool, what? Fuck.
Not a single word. What do you do?
Hey, thank you guys for tuning in and listening. This is a Joe Fleetwood podcast short, just a news update. Make sure you go to www.joefleetwood.net, like and subscribe. Chat with you guys later. Peace.